Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to the Jetty Jet Show. I'm Jetty Jet. And oh man, it's been a while. I'm way behind in my last two videos, Tsuyu and Misato from Evangelion, but I just had to get this video up while it's still available as a reward for March. So sign-up ends on the 31st of this month, and anything I post will be available for purchase on Gumroad on a later date. But in this video, I'm not going to be splicing up the video like I normally do to give you guys a preview of just how the full videos are. And this is only a snippet of the full video, so please support me on Patreon or Gumroad for the full version. Oh, and also note, I start off the video a little low in volume because I was recording it really late. Without further ado, enjoy. So before we even start, this is from my last drawing. I'm going to create a new file based off of the same settings. Save over this as ALITA. So in ALITA, we can create a new folder called ALITA Art Files. Okay, great. Now save it in there. Brand new art file. We don't need to worry about destroying all this information because we already have a backup copy. So my canvas is a 13 by 19 inch canvas. Let's erase everything out. I like that gray background, so I think I'm going to stick with that gray background for this drawing. Alright, so with this sketch, I want to capture a lot of emotion, and so I'm not going to have a lot of constraints. I'm not going to start off what I like to do usually, start off with a simple pose and all that stuff. For this one, I really want to capture some emotion in the eyes, because that's really where most of the life I feel is going to be. Since she is a robot, just going to block in some eye shapes, and there will be semi-detailed and emotive in expression, so going directly right in there. As you know, James Cameron has his movie, and the eyes are super huge, looks kind of weird, but I think that's to the advantage of the story and the character, because everyone's just going to be talking about it, and he understands marketing. And this, we're just drawing a portrait of Alita's face, and we'll work around the face as the starting point. And also to how I used to sketch my drawings, which is usually with the eyes. And in this method, I'm letting each line inspire the next, as if this sketch is going to be our finished drawing that we'll be presenting. Of course, we'll be cleaning it up, or maybe not. I don't know at this stage. So in this approach, I'm going really just loose, locking in actual features and details of fingers, wrapping in and out of forms, keeping everything just almost like oil spill. They're just trying to capture all of these details. And I'm not sure how the actual drawing is going to look in the end. Just letting the pose dictate what's going on. All I know is that in my head, I'm trying to go for a kind of melancholy type of feel where she's lifeless almost and laying flat. She's a robot. She's a robot girl. Sometimes I'll get the anatomy wrong. I can use the lasso tool to move things around. I can also erase out parts using a combination of all the techniques, not limiting myself to anything. I just want to get something out really quickly. As you can see, it has a lot of energy, but it also lacks a lot of structure. So the point of this idea that I'm thinking of is that she's just laying down a bit vulnerable, kind of displaying all of her mechanical parts, but also showing that she has a very human emotion in her eyes. This arm doesn't look right. I think the arm doesn't look right because of the head's turned. So yeah, the arm would be more like this since the head is turned like this. So let's try it again. Shrink this down a bit. Let's duplicate that so we can see it a little bit better. There we go. Alright, let's try it again. This time we're going to slow it down a little bit, because last time I went kind of fast and I want to see what's going on with the pose. I'm just going to carve in some eyes and let each stroke inspire the next. So I can draw an eye, just draw the eye on its own. You don't need to draw an actual skull at first. This is going to help us nail down the emotion immediately and also help to guide what direction we want the overall drawing to look. Alright, so we have two eyes. Now we're going to block in the nose. Where would the nose be positioned in this position? Based on the eyes, I'm thinking about where would the nose be located in relationship to those eyes. These eyes are so off. So rotating the picture, flipping the picture is going to let me see a lot of the mistakes. Without having to make the eyes bigger, we can just shrink the jawline. Just raise the nose a little bit. These eyebrows don't really tell us any story, kind of nonchalant. Let's go with that kind of scared, unsure look like we did before. So each part is inspiring the next. Where would the ear be located in relation to the head? The top of the ear would be somewhere around the top of the eyebrows. But since her chin is going to be slightly tilted upwards, and we're going to be looking somewhat from a lower view, I'm going to lower the ears just a little bit. A worried look in her eyes. Also throwing in some details of the actual ears. Really lumpy, motive ears, not holding back. How would her hairstyle be? Jumping out here would tell me the outline of her hair, and those are setting boundaries, and that's going to limit where things are going to go, or give me an idea of where things are going to go. But it's really bold to go out from the edge in. I want to find out pieces that I can be more sure of. So the root of the hair, and work my way up here like this. Where would the edge of her skull be? I would say right around here would be the edge of her skull. If you were to think conservatively, the center would be her eyes, and so that would be the placement of her head. So I'm looking for the edge of her head, working my way outward instead of out going in. If I work out coming in, I might over exaggerate the size of her head, and it'll look really, really weird. So I'm gonna go conservative, come in, and then block in some details going out. As you can see, I'm staying close to the skull and giving her kind of a dead hair. So don't leave the head too much. Don't go so super high. Don't give hair too much body is what I'm saying. Fluffy hair tends to feel a little more artificial. So the less space between the head seems to be more realistic and in line with reality. It's just a little more realistic. So I'm throwing in strands here and there. That kind of makes sense. But I don't want to make it feel like she's jumping or anything like that. I want to make it feel like she's just laying down. Alright, what else can we gather from this? Got the head down. So as you can see, this time I'm a little more comfortable. I'm going a little bit slower. I'm not trying to jump too many spots. So as you can see, when we're drawing at this scale, there's just a lot more room to build details. So if we're drawing super tiny, it's going to be a lot of fatter lines. And at this point, it'll just get really tight to add in more and more details. Maybe I'll draw in her hand, because that also exhibits a lot of emotion. So just like with the face, we're going to block in some major landmarks like the edge of her palm. Let's get the curvature of the knuckles here to figure out just the angle of that hand immediately, and the angle of the back of the hand. So a few little guidelines here and there to start me off. So I'm going for a more relaxed, kind of slightly open hand that's resting beside her head. Make sure that each finger has enough space and room to exist next to each other. Or sometimes I'm trying to squeeze in fingers. It doesn't work. The palms, so the fingers here, connecting into the knuckles. Like that. And this is going to give me a lot of room to add in those mechanical features in the fingers. That's super fun. Maybe she's laying down. So let's duplicate this, because I want to have either the hand here or on the other side. So this one's kind of closed, protected. I'm going to draw this knuckle here. Already I can kind of see where the shoulder is. Something like this here. It can be right here even. Really cramped here. Lay the shoulder down and not the neck. Okay. Now in this type of pose, I won't be able to see too much of her armor, which is probably why I wouldn't do this pose. But it does give us that very vulnerable type of expression. Let's make sure we make those arms a lot bigger, because these are really, really small arms, like that. And to get a good size for arms without having to block out a bunch of construction lines, just think arm segment should be the length of the skull. This also wouldn't work very well in a vertical standing pose. Really side driven, so it doesn't make any sense for her hair to be flying this way. Alright, I think we've explored enough with this one. Let's try out this one. Let's do our initial idea. So that was letting the drawing guide me and not really being too much in control, just allowing it to do its thing. This time I'm gonna try to capture the vision that I have, which is her laying flat on her back with her arms just laying to her side, just relaxed. Collarbones. So I'm really trying my best not to use rough draft lines. Just go straight in, rotating the picture. Okay, so if this is the shoulder here, armpit could be right here, and this could be. There we go. Okay, so this was super sideways. I don't even know what I was doing. Let's do it like this, rotate it. Like before, I'm using the segments of the arms the length of the head, and also the base of the breast would be kind of that length of the head. Just working my way down, figuring out landmarks. Now if I were to place the base of the crotch right over here, that will be 8 heads, and I don't think I want an 8-head figure, so 7 heads tall. Using the pelvis bone as an anchor. This was the hip bones, which is the greater trochanthers. It would extend out to here. It's really exaggerated, by the way. We're gonna infer these positions. Now this was the hip over here. Let's just divide into segments. This is probably a perfect opportunity to add those segments. Since she is a robot after all, we can draw these seam lines that doubles as anatomy, but also like robotic parts. So I'm thinking this knee can come towards us just a little bit by drawing a circle and also swooping motion like this, wrapping around, somewhat of a bend in that leg. This hand over here just doing its own thing. I don't know what's happening over there yet. Let's try to find our way there. So this is kind of homage to the classical 90s anime manga style. And even the approach is somewhat an old traditional style, where back in the day they didn't really think too much about the layout or rough drafts. You kind of just drew things into position directly, the artist back then. So there would be a lot of parts about a drawing off. To be honest, I think it's because the material, the reference material just wasn't available. Like right now, we have the internet, so everyone's visual IQ and visual library wasn't as good, so nobody could really detect what was wrong with it. Someone might have felt like there was something wrong with the drawing, but couldn't really tell or point out exactly what was going on. So things would look kind of wonky, but that was kind of the charm of the 90s. And this existed in a lot of Western comics too, where features would be really wonky. Anatomy would be really wonky, and wonky just means broken. But because of it, it allowed a lot of room to just have fun and explore. And it also had a lot to do with the limitations they had back in the day, because we have a lot of digital software where we can undo and redo, undo, and also have all these layers and set things to transparent. It would just be a lot faster to just draw directly because of all the materials it would require to like overlay more transparent paper and clean up and your eraser tool. So being able to nail things and get it just accurate enough the first time around would save time and money. It would also make you more skilled and proficient at drawing directly. They really focus on getting things more confident and deliberate, where they're not having to worry about erasing or stacking on layers. So in a sense, today we're a little more spoiled with our technology. In the end, it's a trade-off. You know, you get that charm, but then sometimes the anatomy is broken. Because of that, the trade-off would be relying too heavily on the digital edits. In a sense, has become our crutch, our own cyborg, an extension of our artistic ability. But that doesn't mean you can't go back and put constraints and work and study and train like the old masters. Alright, so I think this pose is working a lot better than the last one. Yeah, this one's just like cold. Let's start to add in some of those mechanical features by dividing some of our anatomy up into sections. Maybe a ball joint for the shoulders. So I'm trying to keep her as human and elegant as possible by following these lines of anatomy, keeping things simple and not too messy. One of the things I really like about the design of the armor that's in the trailer, of how she's looking at her arms, and the armor is so bionicle, really inspired by the human anatomy, and each joint has a purpose. So to get that cyborg mechanical feel, you really don't have to do much other than interpret the actual anatomy, human anatomy, and follow the lines of the muscles where the muscles are dividing, and also add in ball bearings or hinges wherever your bones are bending and turning. Even the planes, are like where muscles are kind of bumping up or down, or knuckles. Just separate those parts and it'll give it a more mechanical look, but also look practical and functional, because our body is functional and it works for a reason. So if it works correctly anatomically, it should work correctly mechanically. And then from there, you can embellish it with a few division lines and a few panel lines here and there, and it'll really give that believable mechanical look. And then I brushed out some of the clouds, clip masked it out so that it doesn't have one color. And then finally, I blocked out some parts or some whites to give it a really nice graphic shape. And it looks like we'll have to end the video at this stage here. As you can see, I've got a lot to share with you guys. I go into full detail with all the process and breakdowns. And if you guys haven't seen ALITA yet, go check it out. Go watch ALITA. It's so good. I watched it. I loved it. The actions, the villains, the 90s nostalgia. I didn't think I'd ever see the day that Hollywood actually does an anime adaptation justice. And like, is this real life? Is this for real? And if you guys don't like it, flick my forehead when I see you. Also, this is an emergency. Make sure you subscribe to PewDiePie. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye bye. Pieces.